forgot the pen.
Live
There we go.
Okay, we're live. Everybody, welcome back to Artists on Lockdown. I'm Sal Piacente, president of Universal Game Protection. As you know, my full-time profession is lecturing to casinos on game protection and scams. And I'm talking fast because this is a week that I have been so excited about. It's going to be a Rain Man special, as I've been pitching. We have a very special guest. And before I get into that, I hope everybody is safe and sound. I hope you had a wonderful week. And please, if you like this show, hit share. Any questions about what you're about to see, if you have any questions about the movie Rain Man, I encourage you to ask them, because any questions you have cannot be more answered than tonight, where you will get the correct answer. That's for sure. Before we get started, the reason why this is called Rain Man is because of something I do. Let's get right into the video. You're going to see a video right here that was just filmed about 10 minutes ago. And this is me doing Rain Man for my wife. So let's look at this video. Hi, I'm Sal Piacente, and this is Rain Man. Lee, do me a favor, give that deck a shuffle, give it a scramble or a wash, and then just give it a couple of riffles, a strip and a riffle, poker procedure. The reason why this is called Rain Man is because this routine is very similar to a scene that occurred in that movie. Because this is going to relate to blackjack, we're going to consider all tens, jacks, queens, and kings 10 values. So she shuffles, she takes them, and let me just see something here. Look to those. Draw two aces.
One, two,
5 10 value cards.
1, 2, 3,
3, oh, 2 more.
4, and 5. Yeah.
Then you have 3 9s, 4 8s, and 2 7s.
3 nines. 1. There's 1 9, 2, 3 nines, and then how many?
4 8s, 2
Yeah.
7s.
There's 1 8, 2, 3, and 4 8s. How many sevens?
2 7s.
1, 2. Okay.
You have all 4 6s and 1 5.
4 6s. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 5.
1 5.
Mhm.
You have 3 4s.
3 4s. 1, 2, 3.
3 4s. You have 2 3s
2 3s.
and the 2 deuces.
2 deuces. Awesome.
And that's Rain Man.
That's
Thank
awesome,
you.
baby.
Okay, that's something I've been doing for quite some time. And when I did it for my wife once, she says to me, that's right out of the movie Rain Man. Well, I've never seen the movie. So I watched the movie Rain Man, and now I'm hooked. When I saw that scene, I said, wow, this is incredible. But is there really a person that could do this? Well, the answer is yes. His name was Kim Peek. And I managed to meet him, and that's a story in itself. But through Kim Peek, I met Dr. Daryl Treppitt, who's the leading authority on savants. And when I was meeting him once, he said, Sal, have you met Barry Morrow, the person who actually wrote the movie? So I said, no, I would love to. Now, this is in Fond du Lac, Michigan. So he says, well, I'm going to be doing something with Barry, an interview for a project I'm working on, and he'll be here in 2 weeks. So sure enough, I came home, told my wife, we have to drive back to Fond du Lac in 2 weeks. We did, and I had a chance to meet Barry Morrow and became friends ever since, and I'm very proud to consider him a dear friend. So please, let's bring on Barry. Barry, how are you?
I'm doing well, Sal. Except, your memory failed you just now.
Oh,
You said Fond du Lac, Michigan. It's Wisconsin.
it's Wisconsin, correct. Oh, you're absolutely right. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that.
I won one against Sal. Yeah.
You did. That you did. And what an experience out there. It's been great. And getting to know you and hearing the story, have you here to tell about Rain Man. I am so excited for it. It's not even funny. And I'm dressed for the occasion. I have my Rain Man shirt, one of them that you signed. I
Yes,
have several others you signed, and one of them is hanging around here. But Barry, I want to know, can you tell us the whole story about Bill Sachter and the whole thing, how it happened?
okay, now, but you're going to have to keep the stop clock here because I couldn't go on, and I don't mean to, but my career and my life was so influenced by meeting a man named Bill Sachter, who was a janitor at a country club where my wife, and we were in our early 20s, just barely married, where she worked. And he was mentally retarded, had spent 42 years in an institution. And when he got out, had no family, no relatives, nobody. He's all entirely on his own, couldn't read or write, but he could wash dishes. So he ended up at this club, and one at Christmas party, I ventured into this very august, it looked like the White House, very old money and all of that. So regal sort of atmosphere, and yet these two humble guys, me, a long-haired hippie at the time, and Bill, with his history, we forged a friendship and stayed basically together until he died. We became his not his parents, but we legally got guardianship over him, and were able to take care of him, and he took care of us, believe me. But he was my introduction to the whole world of, what it means to be limited or disabled or whatever the term of the day and the week is. Bill was not able to navigate life by himself, but he had such an intelligence for other things, like knowing a good person from a bad person, which some of us aren't that good at. And literally, he could. When Bill and I would ride in the car, wherever we would go, he would wave like this, just a little wave as cars went by, randomly, but about every third car or something like that, he would wave, and people always waved back. And I thought, how amazing that, because people don't always wave back. So I did a little experiment, and I just tried driving around and waving at people randomly. And I got about 50-50 waves back. But Bill never missed. He could see a person through the windshield coming at, whatever speed we were traveling at, make an instantaneous decision that this was a good person, make a gesture, get it back, and they're gone. And not everybody can do that. So while Bill never learned to read or write or accomplish anything of letters, he charmed a nation when I wrote the story about him and our relationship. It was known as Bill. And that was the television movie special. It was a special on CBS back in 1981. And it was financed and sponsored completely by General Electric, which rarely does one company, sponsor an entire show. But they wanted to do this as their Jack Welch, who was the head of the whole shebang, one of the giants of industry, who died last year, wrote to me and said, because I asked him, I said, why are you sponsoring this, show fully? And they said, it's not really for the people in America, it's for our employees, our, 8 gazillion employees. And it's a Christmas card to them. And I thought, wow, what a cool thing to be able to do. But of course, not only the employees, but the rest of the nation tuned in, which surprised everybody, because even the network, CBS executives were telling me, don't get my hopes up and stuff. It's not really typical fare. They weren't sure if they were going to get any ratings at all. And of course, it swept the night, and won Emmys for Mickey Rooney, who played Bill. Dennis Quaid played me. I guess not well enough to win an Emmy, but My other co-writer, Corey Blackman, did, and a Golden Globe and Peabody Awards, and it was raining, acknowledgement. And of course, in the middle of this storm, there's Bill, and not knowing what's going on, but liking the hell out of it, because he went from being a guy that people cross the street rather than walk past to a man who was giving autographs and playing his harmonica, which was his other gift, his sort of secret weapon. If he couldn't get you with just his look, he'd whip out this harmonica, and he was a damn good harmonica player.
Wow.
So that got me into the world of being with somebody different.
If I could interrupt you 1 second, Barry, and ask you, because I want to back up just a little bit. And Ben, can we bring up the Bill Sachter and Barry picture? Barry, just to back up, when he was in the institution, the reason why I want to mention this is because when in my stage show that hopefully we're going to be doing tour with soon, I talk a lot about my relationship with Kim Peek, the real Rain Man. Mm-hmm. The first words out of everybody's mouth. So the first question is, was he really in an institution or was he in a home? And the answer is Kim wasn't. But can you mention the leg part about his leg, where they asked you to give him information about the leg, the infected leg?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear the word leg. Well, first of all, as that picture up, I guess it is. Now you can see Bill. And he didn't have that beard when I met him. He wanted hair more than anything in the world. You probably have had the same thoughts, Sal. Sorry.
Yeah, that's my choice.
But it was strange. And in Bill's world, in order to become a regular good man, which was his goal, he said, to be a regular good man, buddy, you have to have a regular good job. All right. And you have to have a regular good buddy. And that was me, I guess, And then he said, and you have to have regular good hair. And I said, Bill, I don't think hair is, a prerequisite for a life. He said, that's easy for you to say. You got hair. And but he could never grow his hair. But he could grow a beard. And so that's what he did. And that's what you did. Look at you.
That's right.
And I have to grow hair because I can't grow a beard. I tried once. No.
Oh, the leg.
Where were we? I'm sorry.
The leg. We're going to get into the leg.
Yeah, well, see, when I met Bill, we were very young, in our early 20s. Then a year or two goes by. Bill's part of our family, going to literally everything we do. And I was in a rock band and part-time gig, and Bill would go with us, go on stage, play his harmonica. When we'd take a break, he'd go up and play his harmonica, and he made sometimes more money than we did, because people would shower the stage with money when Bill would get into one of his foot stomping polkas. So, but he had a bad ulcer on his leg, which stemmed from his years in the institution and a series of events, which he tells differently than the authorities did in their reports. But in any case, he had venous insufficiency, which lack of blood flow, and it would break down, ulcerate, and frankly, the skin, that would be dying. When skin's dying, it doesn't smell very good. So the first thing I noticed about Bill after, I noticed that he didn't have any teeth, and he had a goiter on his neck, and he was overweight, and he had this smell, and I found out about his leg. We fixed them all, not we, I had no money, but I had to, beg and borrow and plead, with whatever, social services, just sometimes even just individuals. And we rebuilt Bill, goiter was gone, new teeth, whatever, trimmed him down a bit, got him some clothes. He had a suit before I did, and he's looking good, other than the hair. So he always wore a wig or a hat of some kind, anything to cover his head. And the first wig he had was one of those ridiculous, Beatles wig from the 60s that, I was a teenager, and your parents would go off to parties and come home. Your dad would come home with a Beatle wig. That was a big joke. The Beatles were a joke. Of course, they weren't. And then now, who loves the Beatles more than anybody? The elderly generations. But anyway, Bill had this ulcer on his leg, and I learned to take care of it with him, and it meant a lot of wrappings and cleanings and this and that. And eventually it was healing up. And then I got a job offer to move out of state and teach something I was just only learning myself at the time, which was, new technologies with video, portable video. We take for granted our cameras now. You can shoot a film in it. But in 1971 or 2, the first portable video unit was a Sony Portapack, and it was 60 pounds, so it was a lot heavier than your phone. It was black and white and half an hour and mono and everything limited, but you could make movies, with a one-person crew, and our documentaries, which is what I kind of learned to do, and Bill would go along with me on some of those things as well. Anyway, I got this job offer to go to the University of Iowa and teach this technology. And so I did, but Bill couldn't go with us because he was then a ward of the state. And so we'd been gone about 6 months, and, of course it was terrible to say goodbye to him. And, we said we'd write and call and do all that, and we did. And we'd come home. We lived in Minneapolis, and it was three and a half, 350 miles about. We'd see him a lot, we said, but he went into a depression. And one day I got a phone call that said he had been walking into the town or something and passed out on the side of the road because of this ulcerated leg was so infected and inflamed. And the doctor said they don't know how he withstood the pain. And so he's in the hospital. And I was called to come and drive home and tell him that they're going to have to amputate his leg. And
oh, wow.
So real heavy, I rehearsed the speech the whole way. And I was mad because Bill knew how to take care of his leg, and now he's put himself in this situation. And anyway, I arrived and talked to the doctors, and nurses and social workers were gathered in the lobby. And I said, so, after they remove his leg, then what? And he goes to rehab, and he learns to walk, and he goes back to his job. And they said, he's not going back to his job. He's going back to the institution.
Oh, wow.
Where he spent 42 years. And so that's when I kidnapped him, if you want to know the truth. And Rain Man is, basically, that's where the idea came from. We did the Bill movie, but we never talked about that part of it, and so that's what happened. We basically kidnapped him, and eventually the state gave up pursuing him, although I had to go back and face this hearing, and they questioned our motives, my wife and my motives. It's like, he's got nothing. I don't know what you think we're after here, except him. And anyway, Bill ended up being one of the great personalities at the University of Iowa, where I worked, because we built a coffee shop for him so he'd have a job.
Oh,
and
we can bring that up. Where's the picture of Dee and me in front of the coffee shop? We go to Wild Bill's coffee shop, if you don't mind, Ben.
He was the sole proprietor of this wonderful coffee shop where students would gather every day, and it's still in operation all these years after it began and Bill's death and everything. Although now it employs like 12 or 13, I think, workers with various disabilities, and it's a great way of blending cultures over coffee. And who doesn't like coffee?
That's so true. And I'll tell you, the reason why we went so much into that is because the institution is a major part of the movie Rain Man.
Yeah.
And everybody will always ask me, where does that fit in? Because they just assumed, oh, the real Rain Man, and that's the way the story happened, when it didn't.
See, Bill, the Bill story, and I said Mickey Rooney and Dennis Quaid, who else? Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. It was really well received. It was the first, somebody told me, the first positive portrayal of a person with mental retardation ever.
Wow.
And that was forgetting her name right now. John Kennedy's sister, Eunice Shriver. Kennedys have been involved in Special Olympics and Best Buddies and all of these programs. The Best Buddies is basically patterned after the Barry and Bill relationship. But so Bill really knocked down a lot of early barriers that allowed even subjects like Rain Man to be, fodder for film. But so many cool things happened, or we experienced together, Bill and I, and my wife, and then my whole circle of friends who embraced Bill as well, that when it came time for the movie Rain Man, it was real easy to, be there before I even wrote it in my mind.
Which now we're going to start getting into the amazing story, because when you told me this, when we were back with Dr. Treppert, the story, and if you don't mind repeating this, about how you first met Kim, when he was mentioning names to you that didn't make sense, but then they clicked into who these names were.
Yeah, well, it was, all right, after Bill, we did a sequel to the Bill movie, and it was called Bill on His Own. And it's when Barry and his wife Bev go to Hollywood to pursue the dream that arose out of the first Bill movie. And Bill decides to stay because he's got a coffee shop and he has customers. And a man, in order to be a regular good man, you have to have a regular good job, and he wasn't going to give that up and go out to California on some lark. So we made a sequel, and Helen Hunt was then the kind of star, along with Mickey Rooney, and that did real well as also. But then Bill died right after the filming completed, so he never saw the movie, but he lived it. And that was '83, and so so now I had all this time during the year when Bill wasn't visiting, that I decided to devote to some kind of organization that, would introduce me to more Bills. And it was then called the Association for Retarded Citizens, and they later, wanted to get rid of the nomenclature, and it's just called the ARC now. But there was, so I joined, and I was as a volunteer, and I was put on the communications committee, and we had a meeting in Arlington, Texas, about, you probably know these dates better than me, Sal, I think maybe '86 or something. But the chairman of my group, and it was all meetings in a hotel or something, was a man named Fran Peak, who had an advertising background and all of that, and also had a son who I didn't know he had brought along with him, but I was about to meet him when there was a break in the day's activities, and I went off in search of coffee and went down a hallway, and I heard this very strange human sound, but it didn't sound right, and it was like,
oh, that's so him.
And I stopped, and I could hear it coming from this door, and I knocked and peeked in, and there's this guy with his back to me, and he's taking books down from this thing and turning them around and holding them upside down, and he's very agitated, and I said, "Hey, hi, do you need help with anything here?" And he said, "Think about yourself, Barry Morrow." I was like, "Hello, huh? What?" And I said, "Yeah, hi, I'm Barry, and you are Camp Peak." And we started talking, and he was looking for books on something I can't remember, and he was finding them. He wasn't mad. He was just excited. The sound he was making was the excitement that was happening in his life, because he was in a library, and a library is his holy spot. And then the door opens, and who walks in but one of his prophets? I mean, now I'm not saying it about me. That's him, because when he went into this sort of language of his own, speaking names in a fashion that made no sense to me, just one right after another. And so I figured, well, he's off on some loop and I'll never understand, until all of a sudden I recognized one of these names in a list of 100 or more, and then another name, and then I put it together that what he was doing was he was speaking the names of all the names in the movie credits of Bill as it goes on the screen. And I said, "So you like movies?" And he said, "Yeah, Bill." And then he went into what it won and who was involved, and he told me all the details of it. And then I said, "Wait a second, so you know a lot of stuff about things, like what else?" And we started talking about sports, and I couldn't, I was a big baseball fan, especially up through those years, and there wasn't anybody who I couldn't, that I couldn't stump with arcane questions, but he had every answer. And so I didn't know who I had met. I didn't know what had just happened. He memorizes my credits from movies that I did. He knows other things about, me, but I don't know him. And then his father came in the room and kind of cleared things up. When I flew home, I didn't know the name yet, but I had met Rain Man, and I was going to write a movie about him.
You knew from that moment, this must be.
Yeah. And I knew I was going to do it, and I knew my agent and all these people that you have to get, when you have any success in Hollywood, managers and different people with voices, they're all thinking of your career and money, and they didn't want me to do another disability themed movie, because I'd done several on television. A Karen Carpenter story was about anorexia nervosa. I did one on amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease. Anyway, issues and health things, and they said, just do something crazy, like action or mystery or anything, horror, just because otherwise you're going to be pigeonholed. And turns out, I guess I wanted to be pigeonholed because I was never able to find, the energy to care about other genres. I just wanted to find people like Bill and write about them. And Kim Peek certainly filled that bill, and, has pretty much dominated my life as it has yours, Sal. The relationship that began, and then the story as it evolved. There's a lot of Bill in there, as I said. There's also the trip we took to, not Las Vegas, but we we went to Reno, and I wanted to test out the card counting conceit. And should I tell that now, or what do you want me to do?
Sure, please.
Yeah. So, well, I didn't really know if we had a movie or not until the whole way of using Rain Man's brain was when it came to Tom Cruise, in the movie. That's how it came to me. Like, wait a second, he could do anything. He could be abducted by the Russians and used as a NASA supercomputer type of spy, but that's not my gig. I just wanted to explore the mind of a savant, and by the way, I didn't even know what he was. I didn't have a name for it, okay, until well into my research, and of course we'll get back to the autism aspect of this, which Kim was not autistic, although most people, even experts, at first glance thought he was, because he had so many behavioral characteristics, the way he did things, and all of those gestures, and some of which Dustin he incorporated, others he did not. He found other savants to study as well, and kind of picked and chose what he needed most. But anyway, we went to Reno, Nevada to test this theory I had that he could be used in a card counting scheme to make money, which would justify Charlie Babbitt's scheme to take him to the West Coast, but not just to get the inheritance money. They can make money, and I knew that when I came up with this idea that it went from a television movie into a feature film. There's just something big and bold and crazy about taking on Caesars that we didn't approach in a small movie like Bill. So we didn't go to Caesars, but we went to wherever we went in Reno, and there was a real small book, and I think it was called How to Beat the Casino, and I read it because I'm not a gambler, Sorry, Sal, but I had to learn as we, sometimes the day before we were doing things where I was writing it, I had to learn about it so I could just make it happen.
I understand.
But so his friend, the father, came with Kim, and we sat down in a booth, like a breakfast area, and I had this terrible headache from the flight, and I said, Kim, I've got to go find some aspirin. I've got this book. You see, it's called How to Beat the Casino, and it's a short book. And so later today, bring it back to your room, but I want you to read it. You're a fast reader. Because we're going to try something later today, if you're okay with that. And whatever. So I went off to search for some aspirin, found it, came back. I couldn't have been gone for more than 6 or 7 minutes. And we started talking again. And I said, so after you've read the book, then he said, I read the book. And I said, you read the book I gave you just now? And didn't I, Dad? And it's like, okay. Well, see, and I was just learning about him. I knew he had this mind, this memory thing, but that's just from the one trip to, Arlington. So now I'm sitting down with him, and here it comes again. So, I'm trying to think of where to go now with this exactly. Do you want me to tell you? Okay. Sal, am I just hogging your whole show?
Not at all, Barry. I'm fascinated. Just I'm sure everyone else is. And if anyone has any questions, please throw them right out.
Okay.
But I know right now you're about to ask if he would do it at the tables.
So I sat down and I said, when you've finished the book, he said he read the book. So I said, it took it from him. I said, all right, page 132. And I started reading and I stopped. And then he continued on finishing the sentences for me. I said, memorize this book in the time it took me. I read the book.
Oh, you have his mannerisms down so good. I can close my eyes and see him.
Well, that's Kim, and that's not Rain Man. That's not James Abbott as people know him. So we go. So anyway, I said, this is amazing. We can go right now. Let's go. And he said, I can't. And I said, what do you mean? You just said you could do this. I went through the whole thing, what I was essentially had in the script. And he's yes, he could do it, but he wouldn't.
Oh, wow.
And I said, why not? And he said, it isn't fair. It isn't fair. Is it, Dad? It's not fair. I know it's not fair. Right? I'm Tom Cruise at this point.
Oh.
I said, it's not fair, but look, Kim, look around you. See the chandeliers? Look at this place. You know why? How this is all built? Because it's not fair.
That's right. The casinos play not fair. That's right.
Fair. So all I'm saying is for one day, 1 hour, 10 minutes, just it's unfair the other way, and then we switch it right back. He went. All right. So, but what he would do, because I had gotten there early and I had a bucket full of coins or whatever, chips or whatever used in the slots, right? That I was just spending time doing. He would do that, he said, because that was fair. So he walks over with whatever it was, it seemed like it was a silver dollar or something, but it couldn't have been. Some big coin, put it in, pull the arm, and then just walks off as it goes, and then pays off about $40. Swear to God. And Fran was there to witness it. He just walks off and it's raining down. I go over there with the plastic thing. And, so that's the only money we made in Vegas was off of that.
That's fantastic. He had such a pure heart, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of faith. And he wasn't about to compromise his principles just for like a gag for a movie, So.
And when you talk about him memorizing a book, if you want to just go into it more, how he could read and memorize the right eye, the right page, the left eye, the left page, and in seconds, retain for life.
Well, and you may have talked about this, but do people know what you just said about the reading?
Please, go ahead, Barry.
Well, look, Kim was studied by doctors, physicians, at NASA, at the medical teaching center up in Monterey, and I went with him. So that he's been studied by some of the greatest minds. They don't really understand what is behind the skull, and unfortunately, when he died, they never were able to do an autopsy to go further because it was his mother wished that, and that's what you get. But they got a lot of data. In fact, I was there the day when the CAT scans or whatever they were started like appearing on in screens in this. It was like a jet propulsion thing. It was like this big space room and all the guys in lab coats and they start seeing these images of his brain popping up and I won't use the words that they used. It was holy. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. And to me, they're just,
the
brain blobs or whatever. And I said, I don't, what are you guys commenting on? And what's there? And they said, no, it isn't what's there. It's what's not there.
That's it.
There were areas of his brain where Oh, what have you got here?
That's the brain scan.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is the corpus callosum is the bridge between the left and the right hemispheres, and he didn't have that. So he didn't have handshaking between the left and the right brain, basically, which is probably why he could read a page of a book with his left eye at the same time read another page with his right eye, or turn that page upside down, or two different books, and process it and restore and store 98.9% retention of everything he ever read, looked at, or anything else. So he couldn't be stumped. He couldn't be beat, but he could be heartbroken, as I think he was growing up, so alone, so isolated. Even though he had a family, he just spent all of his time in a room with books, telephone books. That was his hobby, memorizing telephone books from all over the country.
And that's seen in a movie.
Yeah.
Sally Gibbs.
Gibbs Sally.
That's right. That's right. Oh, wow. How did you come up with the name Rain Man?
I was looking for, I knew how I wanted to use it in the movie. I just didn't know what the name would be. And so I had this book called What to Name the Baby. And it has all the names from, Aaron and Abigail through, Zoe and Zach. And I would look at these pages and go through them and just mark names that appealed to me. This was for other screenplays, but in this movie, I was looking for a name that if you said the name Raymond, it could sound like something else. So Norman could sound like no man, like no man.
Right.
And if you take the R out, it is no man. And so but no man. I had 3 or 4 out of all those thousands of names. But maybe there's 10 to start with. Anyway, it boiled down to a couple, and one of them was Raymond. Could be Rain Man if a child said it. And that's what I was doing. I was just reading these names with a child's voice, Babua, Bobby, Raymond, Rain Man.
Oh,
that's how. And there was another one. I wish I could remember. The other one was good too. But then at the dinner table, I asked, kids which name do they think was more fun? And they liked Rain Man. They didn't know why they liked it. They were young, but it was evocative. What's a Rain Man?
Oh, well, I'm glad it came out just the way you wrote it, because I'll tell you right here, I have a bunch of scripts from the movie.
Yeah.
This one is my favorite, obviously, because it's the one you signed to me. So I really enjoyed that one. And this one is pretty much true to the movie. But this one right over here, the revised one, this one, I got to tell you, Barry, there's a scene in here that I read that didn't make the movie, which I'm grateful. But it was about them being kidnapped and put in a warehouse and him putting a motorcycle or a car back together. Can you just go a little bit into that?
Do I have to? Yeah.
No, you don't want to speak about it. No.
No, I'm kidding. When I turned in my first draft to the studio, now mind you, I only pitched the movie 3 places. Pitched meaning try to sell it.
Right.
I was a successful television writer, but when you go then into the feature world, then that was for some a bridge too far, and I knew that whatever I brought to the studios was going to be looked at as he's a TV writer. He did that thing with Mickey Rooney, and yeah, good. So what's going to make this a movie? And I I knew I had to do a good pitch, and the guy, first time I did it, what was the guy? Oh yeah, okay, never mind, forget that. Second time, the person never even mentioned it to her boss, who I had successfully made a movie with, because she just thought it was just not, and it took weeks and weeks before she finally said it's a pass. And I found out she never even mentioned it to him. Then I brought it to this company on the Warner Brothers lot, and the guy there loved it. And he said, we're going to sell this. And then his bosses didn't love it, but he and I prevailed, and it was set up at United Artists. And I turned in the first draft, and I still have the coverage. I'll give you a copy of the coverage, Sal. First of all, I never get coverage ever, and coverage is when a script comes in, they have professional readers who are used to the clients that they're working for, the executives at, in this case, United Artists, and the reader loved it. In fact, said this could be an Academy Award-winning movie. Rarely are you going to get a reader going out on a limb like that, which is, by the way, how I actually got the notes, because afterwards somebody said, I've never read coverage like this. Do you want a copy? And I said, sure. So anyway, I'll give you a copy of that, Sal.
Oh, I'd love to put that in a collection.
But executives live for, they have to kind of justify their existence. And one of them is to always come up with better ways to tell the story or make a movie, even if they're not filmmakers. But, they have kids and teenagers who talk in the morning, and they overhear, and then they bring those into the meeting and say, this is what kids are looking for. And it's like, well, my kids aren't. And so there's all, it's human beings trying to do something creative. And in this case, though, they kind of, I think, stepped out of their comfort zone or their ability zone, because they said, this is great. We love this. Coverage is amazing. It needs a big scene. It needs a big Hollywood scene. I said, like what? Because it's all quiet stuff, pretty much, except the Vegas. They said, glad you asked. They had a file they'd put together on all these different things that were going on in the world that were awful. And like survivalists was one of them. I don't know if all your viewers will remember, and there's still survivalists out there. The people disengaged from the world, they live in bunkers with ammunitions and food and electric fences and all that. They wanted me to somehow incorporate this current topical threatening thing into the movie. Somehow they wanted, Charlie and Raymond, in the course of driving to California, end up in some bad spot and be, detained or kidnapped and affect themselves by these survivalists. Look, I could have said no in the room and I would have been replaced, immediately. And I said, well, challenging, but we'll come up with something. And the sequence of scenes that you read is that something.
Okay. Yeah. Getting a field.
I told my producer when we left the room, I said, are they insane? That's got nothing to do with this. And, and he's a player, he said, write it, we don't use it. So the weird thing about when you're writing, you can't really do it unless you believe it. So somehow in my mind, I had to convince myself that this was a great idea. And so I did the best I could with it. It was the only, action, chase, adventure scene I'd ever written in my life. The wall of fire or whatever it was they had to go through. They would build a motorcycle only because Kim had, I can't remember how I even did the damn thing. But so now so my first script was the one that went to Dustin Hoffman and Bill Murray at the time. Those are the two people they were considering to play the parts. Dustin to play the Charlie Babbitt role and Bill Murray to play the Raymond Babbitt role. And there's a reason why Bill Murray didn't end up in the movie and Dustin did. And that's because Dustin reads right away, and he read it the day it came in, called up their agent, a guy named Michael Ovitz at CAA, the most powerful man in Hollywood by far at that moment. And he said, I'll do it, but I want to play Savant, I want to play Raymond. And so Bill Murray would never have been, quite the slick operator that Tom Cruise was. And anyway, they both wanted the same part, and Bill was just a half step late, or probably more than that. But he was not, in the movie. And then, the whole quest search for who plays, the Tom Cruise role. I mean, that became Tom Cruise, but there was all kinds of people mentioned and talked about. But eventually, despite the fact that Dustin Hoffman was 50 years old and Tom Cruise was half his age at 25 when they made the movie,
wow,
they, it worked as brothers. Something I didn't think, would work, frankly. When I was asked, of course, writer, once they have your script, they don't really need you. So this is why, my wife and I were sent on these little lovely weekend things that, amazing spas and stuff. And, we got kids at home with babysitters, and we end up leaving early because we feel too guilty, But, heady times, but they wouldn't, they're going to make the movie that they wanted to make at that point. But, and that's how the film world works. But the first director to hold the script in her hands that I talked to, Marty Brest, said, I love this. This is great. But what is with this motorcycle, the thing there? And I said, no, you read the wrong script. Get rid of it. So anyway, Dustin committed obviously to the very first script. And I met Dustin before anybody else was involved. Dustin Hoffman was involved. He came in before any meetings with the studio or anything, because he wanted to know more about this character. Dustin, as it turned out, in this first meeting we had, was like 3 or 4 hours in a back room, private room in a restaurant in Malibu. He was telling me about his own connection to disabled people. He worked in a psych ward in New York City, in a hospital. I think it was with Robert Duvall. I think they worked together. They were roommates. And then there was another roommate, another famous actor. But he was telling me about all of these inmates and these patients that he knew, and he could imitate them. And so I was talking to him about Kim, of course, but also Bill. He wanted to know how I got into this writing, how I got into, the subject areas. And so this was very instructive for me and him. But he was the rock that we built the movie around, and then went through all these different directors, all of whom brought on their own writers and friends and lawyers and others, to, try to make it theirs. And so the movie is an amalgamation of efforts, as they always are. But the motorcycle scene got X'd out pretty quick.
So glad. It didn't fit in. It did not fit in.
I'd like to see it. It'd be fun to see it. But, and having directed, movie myself, you want to film everything. You want to film all the possibilities, but you got a budget. You've got time constraints. You've got, all kinds of, you're confined to the script that you end up with. And, Barry Levinson being a writer and working on set with Dustin and Tom, obviously, made a lot of contributions to the film too, as did Tom and Dustin, just, ad-libbing some scenes.
Yes, the fart scene in the phone booth.
Yeah.
That was not planned at all.
No, you get two actors in a phone booth and one farts and you stay in character, which I'm sure Dustin was in character, the entire time.
He was.
And Tom was using this movie to prove to the world, I think, that he was, a serious actor. But why else would he want to do with, a movie with Dustin Hoffman? He did it with Paul Newman too. Same reason, to go from, Party Boy, or Cocktail is a movie he did right before Rain Man.
Okay.
Cool movie and good soundtrack and stuff, but wasn't going to get an Oscar nomination. And Tom didn't ultimately either, but he probably deserved one.
Wow. And let me ask you this. I watched a really good YouTube special, Script to Screen, with you. And you mentioned about Kmart wanting to sue.
Yeah, well, I'm not too worried about that now. Kmart still sucks. And it was actually, ours here was replaced by Target. So I'll have to change my Target now. Well, Kmart should have come out with underwear and called it rainwear.
Oh, that's so
They
true.
should have capitalized on it and gone along with the joke. I don't have anything against Kmart. I'm sure you can buy a lot of good cheap stuff there. And most of my life I bought cheap stuff, so I don't hate them. But it was there was a joke in the movie because Kim and the other savants that we collected all these different sayings from, that was one of theirs. So they said Kmart sucks and it's funny, and Kmart should have rolled with it instead of threatening to sue, which is what they did.
Wow.
But I wasn't worried. I knew that if I, went to trial in front of a jury of my peers, they would all say, yeah, Kmart sucks. Yeah,
Kmart sucks. That's right.
let them go.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's great. Well, I can't thank you enough for making such a wonderful show, especially immortalizing Kim and letting the world know about Kim, because they should. And he came out of his shell because of you.
Well, we all, we're all rescue dogs, aren't we? And
Here we are.
I mean, we all have to have somebody help us or we fail. And so, but I want to talk about you for a second, may I?
Please.
One of the great things that's come out of, Rain Man won Oscars. Okay, that's great. But there's an Oscar that's been traveling around the country and the globe that's doing more good now than it would be on a shelf somewhere. And Rain Man has had its legion of fans around the world. And that's the legacy now for me. I mean, I'm not going to get any more checks or anything. This is just now about what did it do? What good did it do? And, or bad or whatever. And I think on balance, it really opened the door to autism, which I had no intention of doing. I had no intention of doing anything other than making a good, fun movie and making a living. And so the fact that there's just all these bonuses to the movie and that it's still in the public, vocabulary. I'll still hear once a week somewhere on the radio, somewhere I'll hear, I'm an excellent driver, it's just something. And then then there are people who come along who, for whatever reason, find more in this movie than I ever put into it. and you're one of them, Sal. And you're taking the memory part of this, which is, really beyond my ken to understand it all. But where you and Dr. Treffert are comfortable, I'm not, but I'm just watching in amazement as you do your memory feats, and entertain and amaze and inform people. And I know you haven't been able to do it the way you'd like to for these last several months because of the COVID-19 thing. But, I'm watching you now with a keen interest, and, love to see you live someday as soon as we're all clear. Okay.
Oh, I look so forward to that, Barry. As a matter of fact, Ben, can you bring up the thing that says toast? Well, first of all, I'm sorry, before you do that, can you bring up D and the Oscar? Because like Barry said, this is without a doubt the most well-loved Oscar. And that's my wife, the Oscar. And that Oscar has traveled the world and has been touched by it got to be close to 1 million people. And when I saw that Oscar, it is so tarnished from all the people that touched it. And so many people were willing to chip in and get it refinished. But that Oscar is not to be refinished. It's only to be tarnished more and handled by more hands. Because I believe, like Dr. Treffert says, there's a little savant in all of us. We all have this capability. We just don't know how to tap into it. And if you could, go ahead, Barry, please.
Well, if you could see there where D was holding it in the waist and below, there's no gold. It's just this dull, gray, lead-looking substance. And if it were solid gold, I may not have given it away.
No, I don't blame you on that.
It's plenty heavy. That'd be a lot of money to carry around in gold.
Oh, that thing is so heavy, it's a weapon in itself.
But it has traveled all over the world. Started with Fran and Kim. When I gave it to Kim, they had yet to embark on all their world travels, and gosh, they traveled millions and millions of miles, and saw countless. On the bottom of the Oscar, I think it's like at 650,000 people or something at that time. That was a long time ago, and subsequently been to China twice, and it's been held by, like you said, maybe 1 million people, if that's possible. But it's all the gold is worn off of the waist, the head where you touch it. It's been dropped. It got bent. It had a strong man in a wheelchair at an event say, "I think I can fix that." And in front of a crowd of about 400 people, thing straight again. I thought it was going to snap if we'd had 2 Oscars, but and it had dropped, and there's a scar right here in front of, right where I have one, where I got hit when I was a kid. Nose is dented. It's been loved, handled, abused, misabused. It's been lost. I was telling you earlier, Sal, that just last year, a woman in China was mailing it back to the Utah Film Center, where it resides, and FedEx lost it. And so she wrote to the chairman of FedEx and said, "You've lost not only an Oscar, but like the most beloved Oscar. It's been held and touched." They found it, thank goodness. But there was a time there, maybe a dozen years, where when I saw Fran and Kim, it wasn't with the Oscar. They didn't have it with them. So eventually I did, and I knew it had been all over the place with them. But I saw it, and I said, "Kim, look at this. All the gold is worn off." And I said, "What happened?" And he said, "It's on the hands of the children."
Oh.
And I thought, wow, it's mostly been held by kids in schools and different things. And he imagined that the gold is just on the hands of children all over the world. And I just love that image. And it's true. It's true. And so when it was offered by the Academy to, replate it, fix it, and do everything else, it was like, no. This war vet is going to just keep all him scars. Thank you.
That's the way it should be. That's incredible. If anyone has any questions out there, because I see a lot of great comments coming, I see everybody saying they're enjoying it. But if any questions about the movie or any specific scenes, please chime in now, because nobody can answer it better than the man who made the movie. Barry, this is me and you toasting the 30th anniversary because we weren't able to be with Dr. Treffert. So I wish we were here to toast each other again right now in person, because I can't tell you how much I appreciate you doing this for me.
Well, let me just say,
well, yes. Yes. Give me a Y, give me an E, give me an F. Yes!
see, when my grandkids call and they do a lot of this, we have to Zoom and everything else, I have these gizmos around here so that I can make it fun.
No.
Then don't get upset.
For the last time,
No.
See? So,
yes.
but I can go further.
Oh, please. But I mean, I could listen on and on.
Would you like me to start now, or?
Yes. Drum roll.
See? It's just little stupid stuff like this. It's so much fun. And I actually can have conversations with my grandkids where I don't speak. I just say,
Well, yes.
or.
No.
All right. Sorry, I got off track here.
No, please.
I'm in my little world of stuff. I've got my golf things, and all the things that amuse me are around me. This is like Darth Vader.
Darth Vader sounds like
So you have to have props, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. If I go around mine, I have a bunch of Rain Man stuff here. I got all kinds of books, different languages, different scripts, different posters.
Get Dr. Treffert on your show here.
I would love to. I'd love to do one with the three of us.
Why don't we do the three of us, the three amigos?
I would love to, because that'd be great. If anyone doesn't know, Dr. Treffert is one of the consultants for the movie. He's the leading authority on savants. He's the one I was able to obtain the brain scan of Kim Peek, and he's the one that explained it more, because like Barry said, he wasn't autistic. As a matter of fact, a lot of people think just because you're autistic, you're a savant. As I'm going to leave the screen 1 second.
So let me expand on that. Well, I have the show.
Take it.
Well, a savant is a person with just tremendous memory capabilities. And, Sal is, does Dr. Treffert consider you a savant?
He says I have capabilities. We never really talked about that, but I did the math and the memory, and he was very
Most
very
savants are also, though, accompanied by another kind of, neurological something, like autism, or in Kim's case, just a one-off brain. Like nobody ever had a brain like him. It just, they don't even know how it works. The wiring isn't there. There's fluid where there should be brain matter. I think we're all a one-off. I mean, really. And I also think we all have a hidden gift. You got yours. You found yours, Sal, somehow. And I think I didn't really start off to be a writer, didn't imagine being a writer, didn't dream of being a writer. And then it happened to me,
Well, Barry, a lot of my gift comes from you, believe it or not. I mean, I like the memory before I saw Rain Man. Yeah. And when I saw the movie, and then I met Dr. Treffert, and then I met other savants, Elizabeth Catlin, who does the math, the birthdays.
Yeah.
I just want to learn. I want to be able to duplicate exactly what they could do. But it all comes from meeting the savants, and it all comes from Rain Man, the movie, which you're responsible for. And out of that movie, I was so blessed meeting friendships with yourself, with Dr. Treffert, with Fran, with Kim.
Yeah. Well, it's just a wonderful kismet that we stumbled into, and and we're stuck together now, aren't we?
That's so true. Barry, I want to thank you so much for appearing on Artists on Lockdown. Hopefully, we'll be booking the Rain Man show very shortly. We're going to put it on the road. And Ben, I just added one more video to this because this is a video that I'd really like to end on. For the people who don't know, when you see Barry doing his voice, again, it's the real Rain Man, Kim Peek. And there's a great special on YouTube called The Real Rain Man. So I definitely recommend watching it. And if you want to see more about Bill Sachter, you could find this on Amazon.
Oh yeah, it's
the Bill Sachter story. I highly recommend it, and it'll tell you more about Bill.
Well, and let me just say, I can champion that because I didn't make it. Another filmmaker, Lane Wyrick, made that. It's about an outsider view of Bill and my story, rather than the movie itself, which you'd have to find, somewhere on Netflix. I don't know who would have the original Bill with Mickey Rooney, but it should be available. But that one is called A Friend Indeed. Yeah. And it's very moving. It's a great thing for my family to have too, as an archival, record of our life with Bill. And I didn't have to make it. Another filmmaker did.
Wow. Now, Ben, I just put up another video. I just added another video to the file called a message from the Real Rain Man, because I want to end my shows on this as soon as I get permission to be able to use it. But again, the real Rain Man had such a loving heart. And he made a documentary once, and you're going to see a video soon of the message from Rain Man, where he talks about the disabilities and how we're all different. And it's just a great message. It really, really is. And I just found this little button here.
Oh.
Sold in the 70s. Have you seen Rain Man, the film about autism? Because he did so much by letting the world know about these disabilities. It's incredible.
I just took a selfie of us on the screen.
I got to see it.
I got to look at the camera. Do it. All right. There's so much technology around me right now that I'm really getting confused.
Yes.
Yes.
But Ben, thank you for putting us together.
Oh, I appreciate this.
Little audio thing. And
let's show that one video real quick, because I'm going to end it on this before we say goodbye. Let's listen to this message from the Real Rain Man.
And he has a message that I want him to tell you, and listen to it real carefully. Tell him your message, Cal.
Learning to recognize and respect differences in others. Treat them as much as they want them to treat you, so we can have a better world to live in. And you don't have to be handicapped to be different. Everybody's different.
Everybody's different.
That's the message from the Real Rain Man, and it's a great message. It pertains to everyone. A great message for life in general. Barry, I can't thank you. I got to tell you how much we love you. You're a great person with a great heart, and thank you for everything. And thank you for being a part of this. I really appreciate you being here.
Well, did I enjoy it?
Yes.
Excellent. And as far as everybody watching, I see the great comments. Karen, thank you. Demetrius, David, Ted, everyone. I want to appreciate it because we wouldn't be here without you. Hopefully, we're going to be putting the Rain Man show on stage and on tour, so you get to see all these done live in person. And I want to thank you again, because without you, we wouldn't be here. So keep safe, be well, and we'll see you next week at Artists on Lockdown.
Thank you, Sal.
Thank you, Barry.